Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Rhone. I'm rocking one of their polos, and we'll tell you all about them later on in today's show. But as a reminder, 20% off when you use promo code ChatSports over at Rhone.com/ChatSports. Depending on when you're watching this, we're roughly 24 hours away from the actual start of NFL free agency, when the legal tampering period opens and we'll get news of deals actually happening. We will be live for the start of that Monday around, actually before noon, depending on, again, which time zone you're in. If you're going to be joining us, like the video right now. We'll have that video scheduled late tonight, or the live video tonight, so you can hit the reminder so you don't miss out. Let's talk trade, though, to begin today's show. A potential Michael Gallup trade, at least getting some more feasibility there. The Cowboys have given Gallup and his agent permission to seek a trade. Otherwise, the expectation is he's probably going to end up being cut. Here is the timing to monitor as it relates to Gallup and a potential trade, since I'm not sure somebody's going to pay Gallup. More on that in a little bit. March 11th, tomorrow, Monday, the free agency tampering period opens up, which tampering's already happened, but you can agree to deals verbally in that time frame. Within 15 minutes, you'll have news of something happening. March 13th, the new league year begins. That's when you can officially sign deals. Post-June 1st, cuts can be done. Trades can be made official as well. On March 17th, $4 million of the $9.5 that Michael Gallup is due is guaranteed. So at that point, you got to make a decision. Either he is going to stick around for one more year, or he's cut, or he's traded. The Gallup contract breaks down like this. The Cowboys owe him $13.85 million on the salary cap this year. If a team were to trade for him, they would owe him $9.5 million this year, and then $11.5 each of the next two seasons, in 2025 and 2026. Now, it is not a very good free agency class. Gallup played well in the Packers playoff game, but his production has fallen off a cliff. I think the reason why this is happening, Cowboys are trying to get something of value for Michael Gallup the way they're supposed to. They're doing that better than they've done maybe previous players. And I would be willing to bet that Gallup's camp knows they're probably not going to find a $9 million per year deal, even a one-year deal for that in the free agency market. So it makes sense to try for a trade. Now, that reporting had been done by the Dallas Morning News. ESPN also mentioning this morning that the Cowboys are considering a Gallup trade. Again, they would like to trade him. The Panthers were specifically mentioned as a potential fit. The Panthers get linked to every single wide receiver because they do not have any talent at that spot and no first-round pick, or at least not enough talent. So more on this in a moment, but what will the Cowboys end up doing with Michael Gallup? T for they're going to trade him, C if they'll end up cutting him. It's the pinned comment, so go vote if the ad comes here on YouTube. In the end, I would expect him to be released. Now, it is a bad free agency class. Maybe a team gets desperate and they miss on the first wave of free agency. They don't get Calvin Ridley, etc. And it's like, Odell Beckham, Gallup, and they say, screw it, we'll take a gamble on Gallup. I will give the Cowboys some credit, given how negative I've been overall in recent days and weeks. They're handling this better than they did the Amari Cooper situation. The Amari situation, they were just constantly taking shots at him. Everyone knew that they were going to release him because they kind of made that pretty clear. Gallup, they've at least been complimentary and said, we got to work through it with him. You can not tank the player's trade value by doing that. The difference is there's not as much trade value there for Gallup. Of note, the cap savings. This is before a trade or a release. If you do it as a pre-June 1st cut, you only save $800,000 this year. You get a day 3 draft pick, it's probably worth it. No dead money on your books in 2025, which the Cowboys seem to be kind of concerned about for some reason. Just under $16 million in savings next year. If you make him a post-June 1st cut, which you can designate before, you just have to carry his contract through the beginning of free agency until June 1st. You saved $9.5 million this year. You would use that to pay your draft class, roll some money over as well. You are still paying dead money in 2025, $7.15. The savings are the same. It's just how much do you get now, or do you take some of it now, or do you push a good amount of it off into the future in terms of the dead money? Today's show is made possible by Rhone. Rhone is the best products I own when it comes to male clothing. They've got something for every occasion, by the way. They've got pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, polos, blazers as well. Rhone's got something for every occasion, whether it is, you're going out to drinks after work, you're just going to work. Maybe you're going to go golfing. I can wear this golfing. And I also like the lack of a giant, big, flashy logo because I just find that distracting more than anything. The Commuter Collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. So head to Rhone.com/chatsports and use promo code chatsports to get 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off everything when you go to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code chatsports. Find your corner office comfort today with Rhone and upgrade your closet in the process. Link and the promo code will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. Let's talk Deontae Johnson trade. The Steelers are open to trading the embattled, I don't know what to call it there, wide receiver. And the Cowboys were immediately linked by all kinds of different outlets because, of course, they were. Because when a player becomes available, the Cowboys always get linked, even though history says otherwise. Johnson's production has dipped the last 2 seasons. In fact, it's gone the wrong direction since a very productive 2021 campaign. Sub 900 yards and then barely 700 yards. Did miss some time this past season. But this is a former 1,000-yard receiver who hasn't had the same massive drop-off that maybe someone like a Michael Gallup has had. So Bleach Report had a trade idea. It was the Cowboys get Deontae Johnson, the Steelers get a 3rd-round pick, and a 7th-round pick. So premium asset and then a 7th-round pick, whatever, going from Dallas to Pittsburgh in this hypothetical trade. I have thoughts on this, but I want to hear from you guys as well. Would you do this trade if you were the Jones boys? Would you trade a 3rd for Deontae Johnson and your earlier 7th-round pick? Why for yes and for no? Now, the Steelers allegedly want a day 2 pick for Johnson. This is a no from me for a couple different reasons. Number one of which, he's due $10 million this season. It's a lot of money for a player that is not a 1,000-yard receiver and will have moments of bad drops and effort issues at times where he just seems to be a little bit grumpy out there. Now, he'd have a better quarterback than he had in Pittsburgh with the Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitchell Trubisky situation. So I think he could be more productive, but this team is limited with how they choose to spend their money. I don't want to pay $10 million to, either way, it's a 3rd receiver. Because it's either Cooks or Johnson's making $10 million, and my 4th target's making $10 million. I don't think that's good usage of your assets. Now, if he gets cut, we can revisit that conversation. I would rather draft somebody on day 2 or even early day 3 in a pretty good receiver class again, and spend the $10 million on a linebacker, a defensive tackle, 2 of them for $5 million each, than shoot my wad on $10 million for Deontae Johnson and not have my 3rd-round draft pick too when I'm already light on draft capital. We will have Cowboys free agency coverage for you right here on the show. So do not miss out. When the Cowboys make moves, we will have you guys covered. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Let's talk running back. I do think Dallas will do something here because much like linebacker, they kind of have to. But ESPN's latest insider piece had some conflicting info about the Cowboys' plans at running back. Here's what Jeremy Fowler wrote. Same piece, by the way. In running back news, Derrick Henry unlikely to return to Tennessee, ending a historic 8-year run there. Baltimore has been linked to him. Then there are some people in the league who believe the Cowboys will pursue Saquon Barkley. We shall see on that. Here's what Dan Graziano in the same piece wrote about the Cowboys specifically. I wouldn't get too excited about the idea of, say, Barkley or Henry ending up in Dallas unless one of them sees his price drop down to the $5 to $6 million range, which I think is unlikely. Dallas does have some interest in bringing back Pollard with the hope that he'd be better with one more year between him and his 2022 season-ending injury and with some better run blocking in front of him. I think Dan's reporting is going to end up being more likely there. I do think Dallas signs a back. Pollard, a cheaper scat back like an Antonio Gibson, something, because they almost have to. They don't want to, and I would argue they really shouldn't and can't feasibly argue it's a good idea, entering the draft with Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn, Hunt Lipke as your top 3 backs. But I do think it will likely be a cheaper one. This team is barely under the cap right now. On the bright side, the market plays in their hands. The running back class this year is loaded. There are so many players you can start in some capacity or make as part of a rotation with a top 150 draft pick. There should be a good deal out there for the Cowboys. They should be able to find some value and get a good player and win the deal the way they love to do so. So name a free agent, whether running back or defense, we'll get to that momentarily here, that you would like to see the Cowboys go out and sign. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. I do want to mention some defensive help, those rumors out there. David Moore, who of course we know is good info coming from the Jones boys oftentimes, looked at several defensive tackle and linebacker free agent targets for the Cowboys. 4 names he mentioned. First up, Fletcher Cox of the Eagles, and oh boy, wouldn't that be something. Grover Stewart, who we have mentioned many a time before as a run-stopping option. Fularonsu Fatakasi, cut by the Jags, and Daquan Jones. Now, make no mistake, Fletcher Cox brings you the most juice as a pass rusher. I would also wonder, could you actually pull that off? Like, would Fletcher Cox even want to go to Dallas? Because if you're going to be an Eagles legend, you'll be whatever the Ring of Honor is. You go to Dallas, man, you lose goodwill immediately. That would not go over well. Stewart, I think, will also be too expensive as a run stopper. But Akasi and Jones, though, could be cheaper fits. 4 names at linebacker: Frankie Luvo, Bobby Wagner, Azeez Al-Shaair, and Jordan Hicks. All names we've discussed in some capacity on previous shows. All 4 kind of fit a similar mold. These are players who fit the archetype of what you don't have at linebacker right now. They are predominantly run stoppers. Or in the case of Frankie Luvo, there is a very good blitzer. I think Frankie Luvo would be a perfect fit for the Cowboys. I just wonder if he's going to get more than the $5 to $7 million I think this team is going to max themselves out at being willing to pay in free agency. It's a number they haven't really topped since they did it with Randall Cobb, 1 year, $5 million. That was kind of the last big one that actually made it through without getting cut due to injury or being fat. Bobby Wagner, strangely enough, might be a better fit now than with Dan Quinn because you need that bigger linebacker. He's got coverage issues, so does Azeez Al-Shaair. You've got guys that can cover at that spot. Wouldn't sleep on Jordan Hicks, by the way. Did some blitzing stuff with Brian Flores, was fine in it, and it could be also a good veteran option. There are some pieces. I would be a little surprised if we get to the end of March, I'll give him plenty of time, if a running back and linebacker haven't been added, even if it's a cheaper option.